You know, it almost doesn't feel real to me that The Flash is coming out this week, finally, after I don't even know how long being stuck in production hell, because for as far back as I can remember being into internet comic fandom, it was in production hell, and then it was pushed back throughout all of trying to figure out what the hell Snyder's live action DC universe was gonna be. And then there was the pandemic, and then Ezra Miller lost their mind, and now finally, supposedly, it's gonna hit theaters later this week. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. And assuming it does come out, I will be seeing it on Friday. Because I am nothing if not a morbidly curious son of a bitch and a glutton for punishment. And I mean, come on. After the big stink I raised, I kinda have to see it. I kinda have to know what this new DC universe is gonna be and how the Snyderverse is gonna end. Because I spent so long complaining about it and being abstinent that now that we finally moved past it, I got to keep to my promise. I watched everything that has come out, or I will have by the time this video comes out. I still got 2 things left as of the recording, but you know, I got to see how it finishes out, and I got to see what this new DC universe is going to be, and if I'm going to be interested in checking it out. And yeah, I know it's really shitty that I'm supporting this movie that has a very terrible person in it, but like, I'm pretty confident, even with all the shit they said, we're not going to be seeing this person again, not anytime soon. But this video is actually not supposed to be about that, because that movie is about the Flash named Barry Allen. And Barry Allen is not my Flash. I don't like Barry Allen. I don't think he's anywhere near the best Flash, contrary to what Jeff Johns and the Arrowverse would have you believe. I think the best Flash is Wally West. Wally West is my Flash, specifically the DCAU Justice League voiced by Michael Rosenbaum Wally West Flash. And I mean, I could make a video just about that specific version, but like, there are so many people just making videos about the DCAU right now, and so many of them are actually really good that I kind of don't feel like I need to. So instead, I'm gonna rap a little bit about Comic Wally in general, because I've gained a lot of respect for Comic Wally over the last few years, having slowly gotten more and more into Flash comics. Because even going back to the beginning, Wally was kind of a great character back when he was Kid Flash. He was a really good example of what a sidekick can and should be, because he was this eyes-in avatar for the reader character. He was a kid who was close to somebody who knew the Flash, and he was a huge fan of the Flash, and all he wanted was to be like him, and then suddenly he got to be, and he was constantly working with his hero and learning from him in the same way the reader was learning life lessons from reading Flash comics. And somehow that almost never got like annoying or grating in the way that like kid avatar characters can sometimes. I mean, don't get me wrong, Wally had his fair share of stupid stories as Kid Flash, and he was the jokiest member of that incarnation of the Titans, but like, it was the Silver Age. Everyone had their fair share of stupid-ass stories. But then you get to the original Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Barry dies saving the multiverse and passes the mantle on to Wally. And Wally really gets to step up and have this pathos of having lost and is trying to live up to the legacy of his mentor. And yet at the same time, he retains his jokey nature. He's still having fun during fights. He's still making fun of his villains. He's still trying to spread good cheer and be a uplifting hero, well, constantly second-guessing himself. That era of Wally was very Spider-Man-esque from what I've checked out, and I really dig that. But the evolution of the character didn't stop there, of course, because while he was in that era, he was also pursuing a romance with the woman he would eventually end up marrying and starting a family with. And Wally is a bit of a miracle character during this period because he's one of the few characters in comics I know of who had a family, was allowed to keep his family for a very long time, and the family was almost always written well. It almost always felt like people knew what to do with the family or had ideas to do with the family. A lot of times when characters get married or have kids, suddenly writers just freeze up and go, I don't know what to do with this. This isn't how I understand the character. How do I write a relationship? That doesn't compute. All the while, Mark Waid was just over pedaling away on the Flash going like, yeah, I got this. This is chill. We're having a good time. We're telling stories. I'm the best. And that time period is, of course, where people really became big fans of Wally, and he really became cemented as the best Flash in the comic community's eyes, because people had always liked Wally, they had always enjoyed his stories up until then for the most part, but it wasn't until his book became the first superhero comic outside of the Fantastic Four to consistently write stories about a family well that people went, this is good shit. But then, of course, our old pal Jeff came along, and he didn't have his special little guy. And he just couldn't deal without having his special little guy and without him being the specialist little guy. So Barry magically came back to life, and we added all this extra shit onto the Speed Force, and we made Barry a linchpin of the DC Universe. Because, you know, it makes sense to do that in a universe with fucking Superman and Batman in it. And, you know, we also got to have all this other crap going on, and we're going to rewrite the universe through Barry, and all the while Wally's just off doing fuck all. Wally really got nothing to do during this time, and it really spurned a lot of people. And at the time, I wasn't really into comics. I got into comics a little bit before the New 52, so I didn't really know what was going down. I didn't even understand that there was another Flash besides Wally West at the time. But looking back on that period, it really does stand out as like this sore thumb of just a guy hijacking the book to write his own fanfic. Especially because that's what led to stuff like the Snyderverse and the Arrowverse introducing versions of Barry that were basically just Wally, but with Barry's name and iconography. Because the thing is, Wally's personality is much closer to the thing the general public knows as Barry's personality now. Sure, he's not as awkward as Ezra Miller Barry tends to be, but he's jokey, he's silly, he's got some pathos and some weight to him, whereas comic book Barry is bland as a piece of unbuttered toast. That motherfucker has almost nothing interesting going on about him except that he read comic books about Jay Garrick as a kid and he's a science man. Sure, you can peddle dead mom to me all you want, but that's a retcon that doesn't even feel all that interesting or special in a universe where like every other superhero already has a dead parent they're sad about. And it's pretty obvious that a lot of folks felt the same way at the time that I do now, because after a few years of this going on, and then rebooting and introducing a new character called Wally West, who was very different than the Wally West we all knew and loved, not just in his skin tone, but in his personality, that they went, all right, here you go. Here's the old Wally back. Please leave us alone now. And slowly but surely, he has kind of taken back the mantle as the main Flash and gotten his family back and gotten to having a good, consistent, regular book back. The current, about to end, Jeremy Adams run on the main Flash title, where it's just Wally having cool superhero adventures with his family and working out stuff with the new infinite multiverse, is really fun and cute, and I've consistently enjoyed it, and I'm kind of sad it's getting prematurely cut off. And don't get me wrong, it's not all sunshine and rainbows at the moment. We still had to go through the BS that was Heroes in Crisis to get to this point with Wally, and he just died again in Tom Taylor's Titans book. But I get the feeling that's a very temporary thing just for that initial story to get some stakes and initial interest, and they're gonna undo it by the end of that arc, just in the way it happens. And overall, I do feel like there's probably good things on the horizon with Wally, and I guess that's just the history of Wally West for you. It's a long ride of like really cool high points and really stupid low points that we're constantly like going back and forth on. Not even like a roller coaster, but more like one of those really long backcountry roads that's on a bunch of hills. That's what being a fan of Wally West kind of feels like. And I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world. I can certainly think of certain characters who are having a worse time right now than Wally is. And if you came to this video looking for reading recommendations, I already said a couple. Go check out the original Mark Waid run. It's classic. It's wonderful. I still haven't even read all of it, and I love it. And the current about to end with the big issue, I don't remember, I'll put a piece of text in here, 100, Jeremy Adams run. That's been really fun and cute, and it feels like it's going to be remembered as kind of a classic period in the character's history. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. I hope there are good things on the horizon for The Flash as a character and a brand. I hope this movie does at least moderately well, so it doesn't make Warner Brothers think, oh, we can never make a Flash movie again, or we can never do anything with this character in James Gunn's new DC universe again. No, just recast. Just get someone else. I don't care what the producers say. There are plenty of other people out there who could play Barry Allen, and there are plenty of people out there. There are way more charismatic actors out there who could be playing Wally West for you right now. So let's get that to happen. Let's make that go down. And why don't you go down and hit all those buttons, do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, hang around on the channel, because I am doing a thing for the rest of the year where I am trying to get to my goal of 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year and $150 on Patreon. I would really love to hit those two goals by the end of the year. So if you can help me out with that, even if it's not by subscribing or pledging to Patreon, if you just want to leave a like or comment down below, that'll help me out in the YouTube algorithm. So I'll really appreciate it, because I'm the Vacuuminator, reminding you that you never fail until you stop trying. And that's why I'm never going to stop trying to hit my goals as a YouTuber, and I'm never going to stop believing that Wally West can have great stories and can be seen by the general public as the best Flash over Barry Allen, because people held out hope this long. It got us to this point with the character. We keep pushing and holding out longer. I'm sure it'll happen someday. So until that day, I'll see you around.